Thank you for visiting Past the Wire TV, the YouTube channel of PastTheWire.com.
Okay, what do you say to everybody? Geo Sette back at you. 2024 Pegasus Day. The beautiful thing about Gulfstream in the heart of the winter, especially for the Sport of Kings, is that once we get through the holidays and close out Breeders' Cup in November, then we have the holidays. We all celebrate entering the brand new year. And for the Sport of Kings, in a lot of ways, through the doldrums of Old Man Winter, we have Gulfstream Park, Florida racing, turf racing, and of course, what we all look forward to is Pegasus Day. This year, much anticipation, lots to look forward to. A very well put together 13 race card, 7 on the green. So you got 7 races on the lawn, 13 overall, 11 o'clock. That's 11 o'clock a.m. post time for the first, Easton. Keep that in mind, which takes us all the way to race 12, which is the $1 million turf. Grade 1 $1 million turf, and of course, final race of the day, the Grade 1 $3 million Pegasus. What I'm going to provide for you, and I'm happy that you're with me again, but what I'm going to provide for you is not what I would typically do on a big day, and my apologies for that. However, in the comments, I will provide my precise order of finish for all the races. What I'm going to share are some thoughts and my analysis on race 6, which is a 1.5 mile grade 3 event on the turf. And then predominantly giving you the late double, the $1 million grade 1 turf, and the $3 million grade 1 Pegasus Classic to close out the card. A lot of big time moments coming into this weekend. Is a big time pick 4, races 10 through 13. So you'll get a good feeling as to where I'm going, what direction I'm in. Lots to be excited about. I'll be back in like a couple minutes and we'll get started. Remember, get your pens ready, take notes, and when this has been released, like I said, if there's something I did not cover and you need to ask a question, drop the question in the comments. I'm going to put my late pick 4 in there. I'm going to give you my early pick 5. I'm basically going to give you my precise order for all 13 races. But on the video, to sacrifice time, I'm going to give you some thoughts in that race 6, like I mentioned, which is the 1.5 mile on the turf. And then the final daily double, the 2 biggest races of the day. All right? So I'll be back in a few minutes. Stick around.
Hi, this is Dan Cronin with Fat Bald Guy Racing. We've got a great package this week for the Pegasus Stakes, only $39. You get the entire week. You get Gulfstream. You get every other track we do also. It's a great package, great value. Hope to see you.
Okay, Mr. Sette, back at you. Pegasus Day 2024. Like I said, who's better than us? 13 big races, 7 on the green, 8 races, 8 through 13, all stakes. So with that said, as promised, I'm going to give you my thoughts and analysis and precise order of finish for 3 races on this video presentation. And then you'll hit the comments for my precise lineup of numbers in all the races. I promise. All right, so in race 6 is the 1.5 La Provence. This is a nice looking turf race, always a challenge I really embrace, going, doing my work, film study. Pedigree is essentially important with the 1.5 races on the turf. In this case, it's fillies and mares. It's a grade 3 event. And here now, and I'm going to be brief on this because I really have to get into greater detail for the bottom 2 races, the $1 million turf and the $3 million Pegasus. So in this race, I come up with Highland Grace. The horse is the bottom horse. You got Flavian Prap up for Barclay Tag. This is a very, very attractive, muscular, good-looking daughter of American Pharaoh by Pioneer of the Nile. So you have a filly facing older mares, made for the distance, hasn't done the distance yet, but graduated at a very lengthy, just short of the 1.5 distance. I like the way this gal is training. To me, would be no surprise. You're probably going to get a pretty good price as well because the filly's facing older mares. But I just felt this gal was going to be in the thick of things, especially in the final quarter of the race. So the 9 is my top choice. My second choice is going to be one that's getting really considered in this race, I think, by many, and that's the horse on the rail, Roman Jamia, the 1. Grand Motion sends this gal out. The last 2 could have been her best 2. The horse is adapted well to U.S. turf and soil. Impressed throughout. I think she'll come running. She's going to need a trip, but working well. Believe that this horse belongs right there in the mix. My second choice, the 1, Roman Jamia. My third choice in a race, come up with Sister O'Toole, Oswin Murphy. By the way, a jockey I really appreciate. I think he always gives you a top level ride, especially on the turf. Oswin Murphy. This is a well-traveled mare, Sister O'Toole. Comes out of the Grand Motion barn as well. Will need a trip, but consistent in my eyes. This mare is making her first start as a 7-year-old. Major threat in the stretch. To me, hits the board. That's my third choice, the 6. 2 more horses I'm going to give you in this race. The 4, Alphabella. First start as a 4-year-old, daughter of Justify. Blinkers off. You get Sayaz up for Todd Pletcher. I think this horse is going to need to step up on the buyer scale, get a little better. But, you get a horse that ran pretty well, pretty consistent throughout her 3-year-old campaign, makes her first start as a 4-year-old. I consider her a contender in this race, stretching out to the distance of 1.5 miles. Finally, the 7, Sensitivity. Irad is up for Jose D'Angelo. This is a big step up in class. However, based on the full body of work, you do get Irad. It's going to be hard for this horse to emerge victorious, but I'm going to use the 7 in my bottom gimmicks. And I'm usually really pretty successfully accurate with 12 furlong races on the turf. So my top three is really the focus. I'm going to use all three in my multiples. I'm going to play the exacta pretty well. So my full order of finish in the 1.5 mile turf, race 6. By the way, post time for this race is 1:33 Eastern, is 9:16.47. All right? All right. Let's go into the bread and butter of the day. Race 12, Gulfstream Park, 9 furlongs, 1.5 miles on the turf. This is the First Bet Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational. Real nice field put together here. I spent a lot of time on this. Now, when you have older horses like this, if you're somebody like myself who has watched hours and hours and hours of race replay and film study, I'm very familiar with a lot of these guys. But I still go back, especially to the races I haven't seen, the most recent. But keep in mind, very important, when you're handicapping a race like this, or the Pegasus, where you have deep fields with a lot on their resume, you just can't go by their last 10 races in the past performances, because you find things, you find ingredient, you find certain behavioral patterns when you go deeper. So if a horse has 25 races, you got to take into consideration the entire body of work, all 25 races. All right. So, without further ado, let me give you my order of finish, and then I'll tell you I'll get into some in-depth analysis for each one of the horses. So to write it down, my $1 million turf 1.1 mile, grade 1, my order of finish, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 8, 12. Now, obviously, I'm going very deep there for those that like to play, deeper gimmicks. Those are the horses who at least made the grade where they could be good enough to win this race. But obviously, my emphasis is my top 4. So my top 4 is 3, 5, 7, 9, and my full order is 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 8, 12. All right, the 3, and this colt's going to probably be on everybody's ticket. Lightly raced, Gaffleon up for Shug McGahee, Integration. Now, Integration, and by the way, this is how I land, because by no means, don't think, and you know this, I'm not putting a check mark just because the horse is going to get money in a window, be the favorite or the second favorite. I just couldn't get past this horse, all right? 3 for 3, cost a pretty penny, son of Quality Road, 700,000. I trust Gaffleon as a rider switch from Kenrick Carmouche. Gaffleon actually rode this colt in his debut, winning on the turf, going long at 1 mile and 16th. Very impressed with all 3 of the races. So I asked myself a question: does this horse move forward? And I say absolutely. He will be a handful in this race. Probably tactical early, sitting, in my opinion, 4th, maybe 5th, rather close. Certainly not on the lead, 1st or 2nd, but in a good striking position. Couldn't get past Integration. That's the 3. Next choice, which may make a very beneficial exacta for me, I'm on Webslinger, the 5. Interestingly enough, Gaffleon rode Webslinger last time. They're going with Edgar Zayas for Mark Casse. This is a horse that's certainly going to need a trip. But when you study this horse, all right, on the green, after a very, very active 3-year-old campaign, the horse is making his first start as a 4-year-old, comes every single time, has that tenacity that you want in a stretch run, made for the distance, son of Constitution, gelded son. But I went through so much with breaking down many, what I felt were the contenders of this race. Sort of, I was overwhelmed feeling that this horse is going to be a price. I'm expecting an overlay. And with the right trip, I think is going to have a lot left, which will be a pretty swift pace in the stretch to potentially run him down. I'm definitely using this horse in my pick fours. It's going to be the key in my exacta underneath integration. That's the 5 web slinger. All right, let's go to the 7, Adamo. Talking about knowing a horse really well. I have followed this guy, a 6-year-old, throughout his career. Grade 1 after grade 1 after grade 1 after grade 1. Some races a big disappointment. But when he ran well, he ran very well. Flavian Pratt's up for Chad Brown. To me, when you put Adamo matched up in this specific field, I see a big run in the stretch as well. The numbers are there to put this guy right in the mix. Has been a little off lately. That's why you may get a price here. Last 3, not so much to be desired. Going to Canada, running on the West Coast, it's on the Santa Anita turf. Going a distance, now cutting back. Speaking of 1.5 miles, his last at 1.5 miles was at Santa Anita was 1.5 miles. Pratt's up again. I'm expecting a forward move here, and for this horse to sort of reverse the most recent form and run a pretty competitive race. That's Adamo, number 7, my 3rd choice. My 4th choice is the 9. Very interesting. This is Warm Heart. Philly takes on the boys. Bred wonderfully. Top-notch connections, as you know. Ryan Moore up for Aiden O'Brien. Very impressed with her overall body of work. Not concerned at all for the distance. Loves the lawn. Will take some beating. This filly could actually be favored in the race. I'm going to use Warm Heart in my multiples, but I think she's got some work to do to beat integration, and I just am enamored by Web Slinger's ability to stay in the mix and finish well basically every single time. So that's Warm Heart, my 3rd choice. Excuse me, my 4th choice. My 5th choice, who I'm probably going to use in my multiples, just because if I'm putting together a ticket, it's hard to single in this race. I'm going to use number 11, Main Event. Castellano's up for George Weaver. The horse, very impressive. The last 2 outs. Aqueduct and Gulfstream Park. This is a horse that is a horse for the course. 4 for 4 in the exactas at Gulfstream Park. 3 wins. Hard to ignore that entirely. Made my grade in the handicap. So with that said, race 12, 1.8 miles, grade 1, $1 million Pegasus World Cup turf. Order of finish 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 8, 12 for the deeper gimmicks. I'm going to go pretty aggressively with that exacta 3, 5, and 3, 7. And I have to use Web Slinger in my multiples and maybe even in a hedge exacta. Very difficult to throw that guy out of this race. All right? So listen, I'm going to be back in 2 minutes. Get ready to go over the big one of the day, race 13. the Grade 1 $3 million Pegasus. I'll be right back.
Dan Oman here with some exciting news. DRF Formulator, the gold standard in past performance information, is now free, exclusively on DRF Bets. Join DRF Bets with the promo code WINNING. Get a $250 first deposit match bonus, a $10 free bet, and free Formulator already uploaded to your account. Access Formulator's premium features, including sortable trainer stats, race replays, personalized trip notes, and lots more. Free Formulator, exclusively on DRF Bets.
Tracking trips with Pick 6 King John Stetton. It's one of the best tools in horse racing for any level of player. It's your second set of eyes, spotting troubled trips, betting angles, track trends, horses to watch and favorites to fade, 10 figs, ticket structure, and more. At Tracking Trips, you're a friend with benefits. Not a member? You must hate winning money. Join Tracking Trips now. Visit pastthewire.com and we'll see you in the winner's circle. Remember, nobody does it better.
Number 1 is Mo Donegal by Uncle Mo. And they're off in the Remsen. As they come on for the finish, and it's going to be tight here in the Remsen. Mo Donegal. Mo Donegal bearing down on the outside. It's Mo Donegal and early voting, and it is Mo Donegal to win the Wood Memorial. And it will be Mo Donegal to win the Test of the Champion, the Belmonte Stakes.
Okay, everybody, thanks for sticking around. Remember, Past the Wire TV, this is the place to be throughout the entire year. Here we are, late January, obviously after this big Pegasus weekend at Gulfstream Park. Once we turn into February, Groundhog Day, and into the month, really post St. Valentine's Day, we're going to get a whole host of wonderful 3-year-old racing into the spring. And of course, all the major prep races from a variety of racetracks leading to the Triple Crown. And this is where you need to be. The Triple Crown Tour, path, excitement, come to Past the Wire TV. And we're going to take you throughout the entire year. It's going to be very interesting. Kentucky Derby, Preakness, Belmont Stakes, which is going to be run at Saratoga this year. How about that? Saratoga is going to have a couple of big weekends prior to the regular meet. Lots to be excited about. It all starts now. And without further ado, race 13, Gulfstream Park, post time 5:40 Eastern. So remember, the card starts with race 1 at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock in the morning, you have live racing. Race 13, Gulfstream Park, 9 furlongs, a mile and an eighth, $3 million Pegasus World Cup Invitational. It's a beautiful thing. Without further ado, and trust that I did tons of work, and like I said earlier, you know, a lot of these horses, because they're older horses, I know a lot about. I've seen all their races. But I touched up, and for the ones I haven't watched, I went in there and watched because I take nothing for granted. Like I said, if a horse has 27, 30 races, you have to take in the full body of work. not just the last couple, not just the last 10, because there's so many things, so many intricate details that lead to the specific race, and every race is a brand new story. All right, so what I'm going to do is run down the field, and I'm going to give you my precise order of finish. I'm going to go 6 deep. In my humble opinion, there's 6 horses who are contenders to win this race, and I will give you that 6 in precise order. But to help you guys take notes, I'm going to take it from the rail horse all the way to the bottom horse, and even share a little thought about the also eligible. So we have a field of 12 with 1 also eligible. All right. On the rail, you got Nimitz Class. Zayas up for George Weaver. Nice looking colt. A son of Munnings. You know, I try to embrace the consistency of the horse, which is there, no doubt. But, however, this horse is really, in my opinion, up against it in terms of class, facing many hard-hitting, consistent horses and faster horses. This horse's best have been pretty good, and I like a horse that's got a nose for the wire and competes. Listen, horse has won 11 times in 21 starts, but in my opinion, even though the horse will be tactical early, too much to ask, I'm not using the 1. Number 2 is O'Connor. Now, interestingly enough, this horse began his career in South America. 7-year-old, has run over the oval at Gulfstream Park 5 times, and hit the board 3 times. Won his last 2, training well, debut start as a 7-year-old. Paco Lopez adds to the appeal for Safi Joseph. However, I couldn't land on O'Connor. Many deeper hard hitters in this race. This is another horse like the 1 who has proven to have a nose for the wire, winning very often, most of those races in South America, but comes into the race on a 2-race win streak. Wouldn't shock me among all shocks, but there are many others that seem to be much more appealing in this race. So I'm not using O'Connor, the number 2. Number 3, dynamic 1. Irad Ortiz automatically strikes a chord up for Todd Pletcher. Now this is a horse making 6-year-old debut, son of Union Rags. They paid a pretty penny for this horse, $725,000. If you can remember, this horse was around in 21. Can't believe how years pass. In his ways towards the Triple Crown, he ran in the Wood Memorial in the Kentucky Derby. Was very good in the Wood Memorial, didn't show up in the Kentucky Derby. But since then, the horse has developed. Very, very, very disappointing effort in his comeback race after a very lengthy layoff. We're talking 14 months. So the horse ate up a lot of money, didn't have the best of trip, but this ran lackluster. Now they freshened him. You gotta feel, based on his full body of work and with Irad in the saddle, that this horse is going to move forward and have an improved effort. Second race after a very long layoff. Dynamic 1 hits my board in the handicap, actually listed as my 4th choice. You'll know that more when I go over my entire rundown of my precise order of finish. That's the number 3, dynamic 1. Number 4 is Hoist the Goal, making his 5-year-old debut, son of Mineshaft. Is probably going to be a price here. In top form, working well. However, I had reservations about this horse going the distance from the very beginning. Can't argue with his last. The Cigar Mile in the mud at Aqueduct just blasted them, ran everybody else off his feet. It looked like as he kept running, everybody else was sort of tied to the rail. There was no threat to the horse. But you know what? You got to be built for the distance. I don't know if this horse has another race going forward. Capable of being a threat. Johnny V up again for Dallas Stewart. You can't kiss all the boys and you can't kiss all the girls. This is one I just said to myself, that final eighth is going to be a major challenge for this horse. And so even if the horse is tactically early, I'm expecting him to tire. Going on to number 5, Trademark. Now this horse was very interesting because he battled to a horse I'm very fond with in this race, who's going to end up being my top choice. But Trademark comes off what I felt was a career best effort in the Clark, which is a grade 2 event at Churchill Downs. Son of Upstart, making 5-year-old debut. Just ran huge with great tenacity in his last. I happen to think that race is going to take something out of the horse. It's going back to November 24th, around Thanksgiving. Training well. I just think the horse he beat that day, First Mission, which I'm going to really get into detail, is going to be primed for a much better effort. And I just think Trademark's going to take a step back. Must be considered in your deeper gimmicks, because if the horse runs back to that effort, we'll put him right there in the mix in the stretch. But where do I have a Trademark listed as my 5th contender in the race, my 5th choice? Number 6 is Senor Buscador. Hard hitter. I appreciate the barn. Todd Fincher. Alvarado's up again. Comes off a good effort against Hoist the Gold, who ran big at Aqueduct in that same race. Many quality efforts, quality starts, the horse is making his debut at Gulfstream Park. If the pace is swift, as it could be and should be, this horse is going to show and make a presence in the stretch. Is going to need a trip. Always comes running. I just had to be decisive and say to myself, not today. I'm not using Senor Buscador, but I wouldn't have a problem with some of you considering the horse in your deeper gimmicks. Number 7 is National Treasure. Wow, very impressed with this horse. Now this horse had a significant sort of up and down 3-year-old campaign, making his 4-year-old debut. Of course, trained by Bob Baffert. Flavian Pratt's up for Bob Baffert. Absolutely working brilliantly on the West Coast. Workout after workout after work, whether it's from the gate, 59 and 3 handily, 46 and 4 handily, 111 and 1 handily from the gate. I love his body of work. And you know what? National Treasure, when he was racing in his in the Triple Crown efforts and campaign, he got a big break in the Preakness. Soft pace. Johnny V just was brilliant on him, and he outfinished Blazing Sevens in a gut-wrenching stretch duel. But that day happened because First Mission was scratched, who I was very high on going into the race. Even so, his last, the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, the horse just ran his eyeballs out. Just missed against Cody's Wish. You know how good Cody's Wish is. I think National Treasure has another big race in him. I don't think that was a one-shot wonder. He's now more mature. He's more muscular. He'll make his presence felt on the lead or close to the lead if he doesn't get it. And he has lasting ability going a mile and an eighth. So with that said, I couldn't dismiss him entirely. I think he's going to get beat, but must use in your multiples, and I would have no problem with anybody using him in their exactas or triples. But I'm going to go on to my top choice, which is number 8, First Mission. Now, lightly race compared to everybody else in the field. But what's blue is blue, And when there's talent, there's talent. So you have Luis Saez up for Brad Cox. Remember, this horse scratched Preakness week before he could run into Preakness. He probably would have been a 5-2, 3-1 second choice, and I liked him that day. Anyway, after April, they laid him off to October. He came back in an optional claimer for 80, ran a nice race, was well bet, held his own, wins on the wire, and showing that type of grit and tenacity you want to see in a racehorse. Then he comes back, Churchill Downs, for the Grade 2 Clark, where he was beaten by Trademark. But when you watch the race, all right, he controlled the race from the very beginning, and the ride was good. But for different reasons, I don't know why, Saez, sort of like the control the horse lost control, and he kind of like shifted towards the center of the track. I believe it costed him the race, but then after he straightened him out, he came on and just missed. It was a dogfight to the finish. Trademark won the race by a nose, but when you have a horse that is a couple races off a pretty lengthy layoff and runs like that, and now he's on the shelf since November 24th, you gotta trust Brad Cox. I trust Saez. This horse inevitably will be on the pace, at worst third, saving some ground. Believe me, if Saez is allowed to get the lead because National Treasure doesn't get out, or the horse to his outside doesn't get out, Grand Aspen, he'll take it. But I really feel like he's going to be sitting what I feel is a perfect trip. And the last two races at Keeneland at Churchill Downs is going to position him to run big here at Gulfstream Park in his debut. Okay? A lot of value for this horse. The Dolphin Blue, they only paid $60,000 for him. I just think he's got raw talent. I think the horse is going to be going on to some big things as a 4-year-old. So First Mission is going to be my top choice. The number 9 is Grand Aspen. Jose Ortiz is up for Todd Pletcher. Horse is making his 5-year-old debut. There's a lot of possibilities here because this is a horse, one of the more consistent in the entire race. Son of Dialed In by Mineshaft was very inexpensive. I think they're reaching here for a Grade 1. Be tough to outfinish many of these, but he hit the board in terms of my full handicap only for bottom gimmicks. My 6th choice or 6th contender in the race, Grand Aspen. The 10 is Ir Miracolo. Horse is a nice looking colt. 4-year-old now. Travels well. I think the horse is going to move forward with another big race. Hasn't won at the distance, concern of mine, but some others haven't. The horse is made for the distance. Son of Gunrunner, of course. Also proven over the Gulfstream Park Oval. The 10 can run, will probably have to run his best race yet. I just think that between needing the trip and the company he's facing, grudgingly going to leave him off the board. Let's face it, you have to be decisive. He was the one who I was concerned with leaving him out. So I may make a different decision race day, but he's not in my top 4, but I wouldn't argue with someone putting him in your deeper gimmicks. The 11 is Krupe, Pletcher, Frankie Dettori for Pletcher, a unique pairing there, coming in from New York. Last 2 are really nice, albeit against cheaper. Gulfstream Park debut, proven at the distance, Son of Curling. Distance will not be a factor. The factor here will be class. Is this horse good enough to outfinish many of these classy colts in this race? Finally, a threat. The 12, Skippy Longstocking, horse I know very, very well. Tyler Gaffleone is up for Saffie Joseph, 5-year-old debut. I believe he could go forward, but at Gulfstream Park, especially that first turn, very, very, very challenging and compromising to a horsebreaker from the 12 hole. So the effort early on to be in the mix and to make that turn clean is going to be needed. But a professional horse, son of Exaggerator, has the numbers to be right there in the mix. Some real quality buyer numbers, can be tactical, fits with the class, proven at the distance. Wouldn't be shocked if this horse won the whole thing, but I just think, based on the post position, Skippy Longstocking is going to be my third choice, third contender in the race. And finally, if one of them scratched, the also eligible is Castle Chaos, making his 6-year-old debut, son of Palace Malice. I don't think he's going to get in the race, but I have a tremendous amount of respect for Rob Falcone and the barn. All intents and purposes, the horse won't get in because I can't see anybody scratching. But if he does get in, he could be a threat to come hard in a stretch and hit the board. All right? So there you got you have the 2024 Pegasus $3 million blockbuster final leg of your late pick 4, late pick 5. My order of finish: 8, 7, 12, 3, 5, 9. That exacta of First Mission and National Treasure, it's got a nice, yummy label to it. And I'm going to use Skippy Longstocking. Everything to do with that horse is the post position. But I have to use the horse. Certainly my triple. I'm going to go cold with my triple, cold with my super, cold with my exacta. But in my multiples, I'm using the 8, 7, and 12. But there you have it. I hope you feel my level of excitement for this day. I mean, listen, in the dead of winter, late January, 13 races starting 11 o'clock in the morning. The final 8 through 13, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 6 races, all stakes. In the comments, I'm going to provide my full order, precise order of finish for all the races. I have a couple very intriguing spot plays on the undercard. So take a look at that. All right? Any questions, please let me know. Always my pleasure. And I really hope that everybody going into this new year has been healthy and safe, and you're looking forward to an exciting thoroughbred racing calendar of events. Where to go, what to watch, stay right here. Past the Wire TV, pastthewire.com. You're in the right place, all right? So stay well. Let's go make some money. Let's go!
Does it better.